Oh, we're live.
Introduce ourselves.
Hi, I'm Maggie. And
Hi, I'm
this is
Patrick.
Patrick, and this is our historic first live event. Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So we both work at A1DesignBuild, and we are a residential design build firm. And we do a lot of work with older folks that are trying to make their house a safer place to live for longer, so they don't either end up getting hurt or end up maybe prematurely in some kind of assisted living or like a rest home kind of place, which is kind of bleak. So
Yeah.
we sent out a survey a couple weeks ago, and we had a bunch of people answer the survey so we could just.
Does it say okay, live? We're back. Yeah, it says we're live. Oh, sorry, we had a technical error. Okay, so now I don't know if I can see the comments. Is the only problem.
On the bottom left-hand side, the comments will appear here.
Oh, awesome. We have to keep our eye on these comments right here.
So we talked for like 10 minutes after it stopped, so we have no idea where we're at.
May as well start at the top.
Yeah, okay, so we'll just start out with aging in place. And
we were talking about the things that cause you to have to leave your house.
You actually you have this new way of describing it that's really good.
Oh, I thought you were going to say something
else. No, so just say what you're going to say, because I think it's what you've been saying lately that I really
what I've been saying lately to people is there's sort of 4 areas that are problematic in a house. Oh, okay. So sorry, there's a whole other thing going on in the other room. Getting in and out of your house, even like 1 or 2 steps up from your garage or from like a little front porch, if that does not have a grab bar, like a graspable handrail, typically on both sides is what we like to see, is problematic. Navigating stairs is problematic in general. Even if you're in pretty good shape, they're just the thing that oftentimes precipitates a fall and then an injury, which is very difficult to recover from. The other areas are the bathrooms, getting out of bathtubs, slippery floors, nothing to hold on to. Really, how many people do you know that, like, my mom fell in the shower and broke her hip and she was dead like a year later? Because it's really hard to recover that kind of injury when you're of that age. And so that is what most people are trying to prevent happening. The other things that are not necessarily like hazards necessarily is kitchens and laundry. And so one of the things that is difficult for people as they get older is cooking, bathing, doing their laundry, getting in and out of their house. And when a person is not able to do those things, those are some of the things that precipitate them leaving their home and being in some other kind of facility, which could be better maybe for them. Yeah. But kitchens and laundry are really kind of like they're very important, very useful spaces for taking care of yourself. And they're also not really designed for people that are old.
So before we go further, Chris is asking us to define aging in place again. And because we did that before, and then the live went haywire. Something went wrong with the sound. So aging in place is, basically you're living in your house now, and you want to age there without having to go to a rest home or go to a different house that is more suitable for you. If you can age right where you're at, that's better. And so we help people adapt their houses to be able to age in place.
Yeah.
So that's what aging in place is, and
it's also it's a design principle.
So the way, you didn't say what you were going to say. So what Patrick usually says, by the way, lately, is he says, really aging. No swear words. So aging in place is really being able to get in and out of your house, be able to cook in your own house. Be able to get in and out of the bathtub, on your own, being able to basically move around your house without having trouble. Do your laundry.
All the stuff you do in your
I mean,
house
you were saying it, but you weren't saying it like the cool way you usually say it.
Okay. All right.
That's okay.
That's why Megan's here.
Yeah, it's
So
really basic.
It's like use and convenience. It's safety and use and convenience.
Mm-hmm.
If those things aren't ironed out, then it's difficult to stay at home, especially as you get old or if you have some other condition.
So a lot of people don't even like to talk about aging in place, especially when they're younger. And so I often a lot of our clients are really physically fit clients, you know, or they have hobbies that are a little bit adventuresome, like hiking the mountains or
they have a lot
skiing
of helmets.
Helmets, a lot of helmets. And the thing, in my own life, I mean, I don't feel like super old yet. I'm getting there, but, I don't feel like I can get around fine. I can climb in and out of the back of my truck. But I have experienced this. Like my hobby is a horse, and I have fallen off from my horse multiple times.
Many times.
I don't ride him anymore actually because of that. But the last time was terrible. I broke 3 ribs and I collapsed my lung, and it was from having fun, you know. And I mean, I was like, I was grabbing for things as I was walking around because I was in so much pain. And so being able to stay in your house when you, so let's say you want to keep adventuring and, you're getting up there, or maybe you're living alone now and you weren't living alone before. And if you have an accident like that, no matter what age you are, if it's worse than that, where maybe you're in a wheelchair for 6 weeks. I had a cousin who got an illness and she was in a wheelchair for a little while, but then she recovered. Yeah, she couldn't be home. She had to be in a facility. And so when you recover, you can go back home, but wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to leave? So it's really something that anybody can plan into their home, and it makes the home more valuable for more people because it's appropriate for more ages, for more abilities. So
it's a design methodology and principle that we actually have people here that are certified in this. Yeah. It's important enough. And in new houses, it would be great if we just designed every new house to work for people that are old, because it would work for everybody. So,
I have a comment here. I have to see more.
Another thing we've seen is when people, and this happened with my mom, when people have severe injuries and they're old, there's a whole occupational therapy thing that gets involved in the medical treatment. And if your house, in her house wasn't appropriate for her to return to. And she had a hard time leaving the hospital. They didn't want her to go. They did not want to release her, because she didn't have a safe place to go. And so part of this is preparing ourselves so that when we have this situation, that maybe it's not just being old, maybe we just hurt ourselves. We have a house that works for us to be able to recover, even when we're not 70 or 80, maybe it's 40. I shattered my collarbone when I was 43, and I lived on the second floor, and it was not a pleasant 4 months. So that's just a design principle that's important to consider, no matter what you're doing.
There's a comment from Adriana. It's important to talk about even when we're young, and I know she's young. I'm only in my 40s, but I'm already concerned about my husband and I aging with our current bathroom setup. This is all super important to plan for. Yeah, it is. It definitely is. And we can help you with that.
Yeah. So maybe we should answer some questions.
Oh, yeah. We have these questions.
Yeah, and then
So we did a survey. Yeah. And we asked questions. What did we ask? We asked people to ask us questions. Is that right, Chris?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Chris set that up. And so we got these questions from people in and around Bellingham, Whatcom County. And so the first one is not that one. That was
a good one.
Well, that's what we already talked about.
Oh, that one.
That's not a person's question.
Okay.
That was just the regular. Meredith asks, what are the costs of modifications to remain in our home? Wow, that's a great question and a really hard question to answer, but we do have an answer for that.
Yeah.
It really depends on what modifications you're talking about. If you're talking about simply adding some grab bars. That's going to be way less expensive, of course, than if you need to add a ramp to your house or
reconfigure an entire bathroom.
Yeah.
Kitchen.
So one of the things I actually put this little book, and you see all the marks in that book, all the tabs. It's because we look at this a lot. And this is an accessibility pocketbook, and it's for, I mean, this can be for commercial use or residential use, but it's a really good tool. And it tells you, like, if I'm in a wheelchair for permanently or not permanently, just temporarily, how much space am I going to need to get around? How much turning room do I need? You know, so those kinds of things could drive the answer to that question. Is like, if we've got to move walls, that's going to be more expensive than putting in a few grab bars. So it really depends on what it is that you need to do.
The short answer is a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh,
that's actually
he's
truth.
Our salesman, by the way. He's our anti-salesman because he's so painfully honest about money.
It costs so much money to build stuff today.
It does.
And,
I know.
It's hard because a lot of times people are not able to find a house that is suitable for them as they become elders, and it's a costly endeavor to reconfigure a house. So the lesson there is, let's build houses that would work for everyone. That's our goal. But we have these houses we have to reconfigure. So I'm going to give you some just heartbreaking information right now. Real numbers from a real contractor.
Yeah.
And I'm going to couch this in that this firm is a worker-owned cooperative. Mm-hmm. We pay competitively, and we take care of our employees and ourselves really well. We work at a place that is a healthy company in this community and contributes to this community in ways beyond just employing people. So that has to be figured into the expense of this. So it is not unusual for a complete kitchen remodel these days to cost $80,000 to $120,000 for the construction costs. Mm-hmm. It's not unusual for a bathroom to be completely reconfigured to be safe with a large zero threshold shower, mm-hmm. and an appropriate toilet and enough room in that bathroom to be able to use an assistive device or have your partner help you into the shower or help your partner get off the toilet. These are all things that require reconfiguring these spaces they were not designed for that purpose. And when you're talking about that kind of change, like an ensuite bathroom next to your bedroom with a walk-in shower that you can sit on, you can roll in there on a chair, you can use your crutches when you broke your ankle when you're snowboarding.
Yeah.
And it's safe and easy to take care of. That's the other thing is, as you get older, it's harder to take care of stuff. So it's not just about like it's easy to get around in. Let's make it easy to take care of as well. That's $100,000 project.
Yeah, it can be.
Yeah.
If you're, and that sounds like a lot of money.
It's
and
a lot.
So
it sounds like a lot because it is a lot.
We've also, right. And that's also, where you're really reconfiguring the house because it's not set up for universal design. It's not set up for aging in place or handicap accessibility.
Right, but let's say you already had a bathroom that was the right size and it was generally going to work, and all you're going to do is to give it a facelift because it hasn't been done since 1970. It's still $50,000.
Yeah, that's true. We haven't done a bathroom for less than $50,000. And so we've done a shower. We've put a zero threshold shower for less than that.
Yes, we have.
But once you start,
20,000.
And honestly, part of the problem that people end up having when they decide they want to do something on their house is that they realize that it's not just one thing they have to do.
Yeah.
So it's just a scope creep thing that happens all the time with folks, and we have to help them with their budget and their scope and balance that together. And and no matter how much money you have, sharing that number with whoever you're working with as early as possible will help you get a project that you can afford. It's hard to talk about money sometimes. You really have to build up trust with people to talk about money. Yeah. And most builders understand that. And they need to know, like in order to do a good job for you, they need to know what your budget is.
But
so it's hard for us to tell you what your budget is. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, we think about people's budget as the amount of money they have to execute a list of things that need changed.
Mm-hmm.
The cost is what we tell you. We tell you what it's going to cost.
That's right. Yeah.
But we have to start with how much resources you have. So, but I think Adriana's point is pertinent here, not only so that we can get ourselves used to what might be happening in our lives or in our parents' lives, or other elders we have in our lives, but also because it costs a lot of money and it takes a while to like get all that stuff together. So it would be way better to be thinking about these kind of things with enough time to like rally the resources so you can get that work done before you actually need it, because nobody can help you when you need it. And this has happened to us a lot. People have come, we had someone come in and say, my husband had a stroke and he can't use the bathroom. And we have a year's worth of work in front of us.
Yeah, it's hard.
There's nothing we can do at that point, unless we change everything else up. So being prepared is absolutely critical.
My niece just said, hi, Aunt Maggie.
Hi.
Hi, Cassie. Okay, Nancy says, what are some good items to address that most of us don't think about? Well, so the thing that comes to mind for me is when you open up your cabinets. Oh, and it's Amanda. Okay, the family's coming on. Yes. So, hi. So I would say in the kitchen, you don't think about the fact that you don't want it. If you can avoid getting on step ladders, you should. Yeah. And, in fact, I'm going to be careful. I don't want to say who, but we just had that situation in my family where, one of our elders was up on a ladder. We're all like, what was she doing on a ladder? But she fell and she broke her bone. Yeah. It was, she's recovered. She looks great now. She is using a cane. But she's recovered. So if you can do pull downs that come down from those upper cabinets, that's awesome. Not planning cabinets that are super way up high. If you have a lot of stuff and if you have a lot of tall cabinets and you have like the second layer cabinets up above, obviously don't store things in there that you need on a frequent basis. And if you can avoid that by having pull downs, like they're like a shelf that actually you can open the cabinet from the bottom and then pull the shelf down.
It has like a hydraulic thingy.
Or you can open the doors like that and pull it down. Yeah. And then the same on the lower shelves, having rollouts and having corner cabinets that you can pull out. There's actually, like, if you like to cook, to bake, there's a mechanism which is a blender lift where you can actually have your blender lifted. It kind of like slides out and up. Yeah. So you don't have to be picking up your appliances. So I would say making appliance use in the kitchen, especially for any special gizmos you have, to have them in a way where you can get to them and you're not having to lift them. You're not having to like put them up high on shelves, things like that.
Not having to reach into cabinets from your knees. Bending over. Yeah. Like having pullouts and stuff that comes into the room.
Right.
To you instead of you trying to reach in to grab that box of macaroni.
Yeah. I mean, it's awesome to be super flexible and be able to do all that, but it's better to like do that in your exercise class, not when you've got a hot pot you're trying to. So I would say that's one thing that people don't always think about. Graspable handrails everywhere. Yeah. Oh, here's one that people don't think about because this is because they're super fit, they're strong, they're healthy, but then all of a sudden their older friends can't come and visit them anymore. Yeah. And that's because they can't get in and out of the house. So I would say that's another one that people don't think about because...
Yeah. Another thing that's easy on that same topic is some houses have long hallways, and you have to navigate a long hallway in the middle of the night from your bedroom to your bathroom or your kitchen to your living room, whatever. And so it's really easy to just put a grab rail like the whole length of the hallway. And then when you walk out, you got something to hold on to get to the other end of the house. That's simple. It costs very little compared to
Yeah, we actually had that planned into a project one time, and I think it's helpful. We just recently had a client who's planning for an accessible bathroom, and by talking with us, and it took a couple visits to their house before it dawned on all of us that they should not remodel this bathroom. They should remodel that bathroom because it's so much closer in the middle of the night, and it's not going to cost them any different really to work on this one than that one. And all of a sudden the light bulb went off, and I haven't checked in on that project lately, but I think that's the direction they're going to go.
In that other bathroom.
Yeah. So having a few different people thinking about these problems with you is helpful.
Here's a really common thing. Like everyone pulls into the garage and they got like 2 steps and they're into their kitchen, right?
Yep.
The mudroom or something like that. And that's their main, oftentimes people's main entry is through the garage. And so even just having a single graspable handrail, just up 2 or 3 steps can help you, and it's dark and you've got a bag of groceries or some other thing you're trying to get into the house. Like even that one little step, what can happen if you twist your ankle and you fall and you hit your car? I mean, it could change everything. And that stuff is, I would say in most of the houses that we go look at, and we look at a lot of houses, I would say 90% of the garages have nothing like that. When people just have a few steps, they don't consider the need to having a handrail because it's not required by code. But it doesn't take very many steps. It takes 1 step for a person to fall. And when you're older and weaker, you're just trying to eliminate any possibility if you want to stay in your house as long as possible.
I'm going through these questions because I want to be able to answer them all, but we're not going to get to all of them. And I was looking for this one. Do we want to? So what is the easiest way to build an ADU? And that's a little bit off subject, but it's not.
No, yeah,
because
it's common.
Because it is common for people to want to have a caregiver facility on their property, or they want to bring their elder to their home, but they don't want to live in the same space. So an ADU, accessory dwelling unit, or a DADU, which would be a detached accessory dwelling unit. So what is the easiest way to build an ADU? The easiest way would probably be like a split level house, or a split level house, and you turn the basement into an accessory dwelling unit, because usually there's enough room for a little kitchenette, dining, living on one end, and then there's usually a bathroom and a bedroom already. So those are really easy to turn into an ADU. The biggest challenge there is access, getting a nice level walkway into either the lower floor or the upper floor for the elder person, because usually there's a staircase involved or there's a backyard entrance involved. So that's the challenge. Challenge becomes basically outside of the house. Getting in is the issue.
If you can reconfigure your existing house to include a small apartment, that's great. And there's a gabillion, these split level houses built in Whatcom County, which are a nightmare for old people, frankly, because they all live on the upper floor, right? But they also have this basement that's connected to the garage. So now you can pull in, it's 1 level, maybe 1 or 2 steps, and then you've got this whole living level that's 1 level. So think about if you're looking for a house, all 1 level. Mm-hmm. Entry, living room, kitchen, laundry, bathroom, bedroom, all 1 level. You're not navigating stairs. It's easy to get in and out. And some of these larger, like split level houses, like Maggie was pointing out, they may already be set up like that. You may have one. We have a couple of clients we're working with right now. We're trying to figure out how to keep them on the level they've been living on for 30 years and not move them down to the basement. But that might be the best solution for them. in which case an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit in a single building, right? So we're reconfiguring part of that house essentially to be an apartment. So that's probably the most streamlined way, because we already have the bulk of the infrastructure for the building already in place, and we're just sort of moving stuff around. The second way is to do something that's detached, like Maggie said. And we're working with some clients right now where they're trying to get their folks to be closer to them for more time. And so one of the options in that situation is to reconfigure an existing utility building like a garage or something. And that's a bit of a larger lift. That's fairly costly to reconfigure a utility building into conditioned space. But the building is still there, and we can work with that, and then their folks would be close to them, and they could, take care of each other. And then the next step is there's nothing there, and we have to build a whole new house, which is just really small, which we like to do, and they're fun to build and challenging. And this community doesn't have enough housing, so they're a great way for people to generate some revenue as they're trying to pay off their own property. But they're also a great way to have an elder live with you. And then you can really, in that case, you're building you're basically building a little custom house. And it's expensive. It's the last couple we built have been over $400,000 for less than 1,000 square foot, high performance, really nice little building that would work perfectly for an elder, one or two people. But that's the kind of money that you're looking at to do something like that. So reconfigure an existing space inside of a house, reconfigure an utility building away from the house, build a new house. That's just tiny.
Yeah, that's pretty
tiny
much
house. You could build.
Well, there's
you
could build a tiny house, and I mean we're hoping that that the local legislation, will be more in favor of tiny houses on wheels. Although getting in and out of a tiny house on wheels, if you're an elder, is an issue. Right. So, ramp, right.
We've built one right now, and we're in the process of building a wheelchair accessible ramp to the tiny house. So, it's just a small house.
Yeah.
But it's built. The one advantage of building something new is you have total control, and you can build it using these universal and aging in place and limited mobility design principles, which means it's going to be useful for a long time after you're done with it, because it's going to work for everybody.
Yeah, and just to be clear, right now you cannot put a tiny house on wheels in your backyard, but we're gonna fix that. We're gonna fix it. We're gonna try to anyway. See if we can't find. The city is very, very open to. They're having to create infill, and they're trying to help us as the population, the builders, the people who own homes, be able to do that. I've seen a lot of things change in the city regs that are in favor of infill. And it's really helpful if you are trying to age in place and you need to move another person in with you, or a caregiver in with you. So, yeah. So let's see here. What else do we have? What are the advantages to aging in place versus assisted living? Well,
it's your house.
Yeah, it's your house. I mean, I'm not saying assisted living is always bad. We're not saying that. We're just here as builders for you if you want to stay in your house. But I would say the main thing is if you're really attached to your family, you can't take your family into the assisted living place with you. So being able to stay with your family, I think, is the biggest advantage to staying in your own home.
Yeah.
If you're living alone, there's just the privacy factor. I mean, I personally live alone, and I like it. Yeah. Okay. So, do you have anything else you would say? What are the advantages to aging in place versus assisted living?
Well, I think I have a couple of friends that are in both in assisted living and in like a full on facility where they're taken care of 24/7, and that has one of those people is in that situation because their partner and their living situation simply cannot support them being at home. So if you're in a partnership, like a lot of people are we might be aging at a different rate, And so if I want to be able to take care of my partner as long as I can, then I want to have, I want to have a situation that would allow me to do that and would help her be as comfortable as she could for as long as she possibly could, because it's a pretty significant transition that's pretty rough emotionally, at least on the friends that I have that have had to make that transition. So, and also if you've lived in your house for a long time, you probably put a lot of energy. It probably means a lot to you, might mean a lot to your children. It depends on where you want to be.
Yeah. So this is an interesting question. And I'm like, well, I think that's a personal choice, but how long should a person live in a particular place? That's an interesting question.
As long as it works for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does it work for you? If not, maybe you should find another situation.
Right. Yeah, and we get a little bit into resale value, but not a lot. When we're working with clients, it's more about, people are usually coming to us because they want their life to be better where they're at. And so we always say, well, what about resale? So should you, like, if you put the money into it and you remodel it, how long should you stay? That is something that we talk about, but it's a case by case. And then so I don't know if that's maybe what your question was, but, how long should a person live in a particular place? It just feels so esoteric.
It does. I
just want to mull that one.
I'm gonna take this home and think about it. Thank you very much. I'm gonna put it right here.
I love it. Who was it that asked that question? Chloe. Thank you, Chloe. Okay, Larry wants to know, what are some common tips and things to prepare for as I think about aging in place? Yeah, I would say getting in and out of a house was one that we talked about. Yeah. Can you do your laundry? Can you take a shower? Can you cook in the kitchen all safely? Is everything on one level? And anything that's not on one level, is there a safe way to be able to use the stairs and so forth? That's what I would say. Is the lighting good? Is everything accessible in your cabinets? Do you have things set up so that you don't have to climb on ladders or go down a creaky staircase to the basement to get things? That's one a challenge that we came up with lately, with a client brought us lately. And I'm not sure, like, I think the I'm kind of going a mile a minute up here. So I think that at times clients come to us with problems and we work through a lot of, options and possibilities with them. And sometimes people come to the conclusion that they're in the wrong house. Yeah. And this is like, I'm not answering Larry's question now. I've kind of branched off into another one. Yeah. It's like they realize, oh, this house is like so hard to reconfigure. Maybe we need to get a different house. We actually have had that scenario happen with clients
many times.
And it's been for all different kinds of reasons that people come to that conclusion. It's not always about aging in place. It could be a lot of other things, and has been a lot of other things. But part of what we do at our company, because we turn over every stone and every rock to figure out your property, what your limitations are on your property, we also ask you a lot of questions. And a lot of times that unearths sort of kind of bigger picture scenarios for people, and they're like, wait, stop, we're not going to spend the money on this house, we're going to get a different house. Like, we've actually had that happen a few times.
Yeah, a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I mean, being in a process of design or redesign, it's an introspective, it's a process. You're asking a bunch of questions about what's important to you and how long you're going to be there and what is your future going to be like and what does my partner need and what do I need? And, we just happen to be sitting in the room with a computer, like drawing pictures for you. But it can be a really interesting experience regarding, clarifying a person's set of values and things that are important to them. Because the fact is that 90% of our clients do not have enough money to do the things that they want and need to do. And so some hard decisions have to be made. And a lot of prioritization and letting go of some of the sort of shiny things that we think we want in lieu of some of these things that are more important to our well-being. And sometimes that means you're not in the appropriate place. And one of the things that's challenging in this particular county is that there's not very much housing stock. And there's certainly not very much housing stock that's suitable for elders. And speculative builders do not build single-level, universally designed buildings. That's not how you make money as a developer. And so consequently, we have a shortage, and we have a lot of old people in this community. There's a lot of old people here, and a lot of older people are moving here and retiring here, and there's simply not the housing stock of buildings that are already appropriate for that age bracket, which is, maybe good for us as a design build firm, because we have got to learn how to sort of fix these buildings for this population, and it gives us a lot of work, and we get to serve a lot of people. But frankly, there's way, way, way more people that need our help than we can serve. And so if you're in that situation in this county, that's a hard place to be, and there's going to be hard decisions to make, and we'll do what we can to help, but it is challenging.
So I'm going to go on to another question here. Chad wants some advice. What are the most efficient appliances? So we recommend checking in with A1DesignBuild in town here for, if you're talking about those kinds of appliances, refrigerator, dishwasher, dryer, that kind of thing. They have just about any manufacturer that you might want to check out. They have, and we work with Bruce over at A1DesignBuild, and he's super helpful. He's actually works with builder clients, so if you go through us, you work with Bruce. But otherwise, they have a lot of helpful people over there. So that's for, I would say, what are the most efficient appliances? I honestly, when I go looking for an appliance for a client or for myself, I check Consumer Reports. I always check that. I always check that it's energy, an Energy Star appliance. That's helpful.
What is Energy Star?
Well, Energy Star means it's more efficient, and the government has stamped it
The
as
government has stamped it, so it must be okay.
Well, you have to meet qualifications.
It's a certification for an appliance that meets a certain level of energy efficiency. That we have found to be pretty good products.
And then there's also energy efficient houses, by the way. Great starting point. We do have an Energy Star house.
We do.
On books. So now this Chad, I'm thinking, what are the most efficient appliances? And I think you're asking me for brands and models, and I'm not prepared to give that answer. Sorry, I didn't look at this question beforehand. But
we do some of that stuff, and some of the things that we think about when we're thinking about high performance home or high performance remodel. And high performance to us means, it's well designed, thoughtfully designed. It uses as little resources as possible to operate, and it lasts as long as possible, and it's super easy to take care of, and it doesn't poison you after it's built and you move in there, right? So those are some of the high performance things. But when it comes to appliances, one of the concerns there is the amount of resources it takes to operate a house. And there's lots of studies out there that indicate that the operation of the built environment is responsible for between 40 and 50% of carbon emissions in the world historically. And so it doesn't take a lot of improvement to bring that down quite a bit. And so we have things like induction ranges, super efficient. We have heat pumps, super efficient heating system. Even in a crappy house, they're still better than a forced air system, and they don't have the indoor air quality issues that forced air systems have. Heat pump water heaters.
I was going to say there's heat.
Very efficient. Most of the stuff is electrified too. We don't really do a lot of gas stuff anymore.
I wish I had
heating and cooling. We have super efficient appliance when it comes to appliances. washers and dryers take a lot of energy, right?
Yeah,
You're trying to like take
I
off
can
these
give you
boxes.
a brand name on that one, and that's the Beko.
Yeah.
Beko has a heat pump dryer, and it's a washer. You do a washer dryer stacked combo. You can put them side by side too, but they have a heat pump dryer that works really well. It's a little bit smaller capacity, so if you have a big family, you have to. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Let's talk about.
So the thing about a heat pump dryer is that it basically takes the air from the house and it uses that air to create the hot air. So it's
through magic,
basically.
That's all.
I know. I'm like, oh my god! I just backed myself into a corner because
I do. I saw her going there too. I couldn't wait. Yeah.
Okay, so it does. So the thing about heat pumps is to remember that heat pumps will actually cool the air around the heat pump in order to create the heat. And so you have to consider that when you put a heat pump, anything in your house. Most heat pumps are outside and then they have a counterpart inside. So the heat pump will be outside your house and inside will be the air handler that heats your whole house or cools your whole house. Or there will be a heat pump outside and then there'll be a hot water heater tank inside your house that produces the hot water. But in the case of a dryer, they don't have a separate component. And it's okay. I have lived with a heat pump dryer and it does not cool my house enough to notice. And I think with a heat pump dryer, it's just not using enough energy the way an ambient heater does or a hot water tank does, where it would be noticeable to have that heat pump in your living space. But with a dryer, it doesn't. So I highly recommend considering a heat pump dryer. When you have a large family, though, I would say I haven't personally been able to test out a larger capacity. They take a little bit longer to do the drying.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of give on your part to do that, to have that more energy efficient, better for the earth kind of appliance. But that's just something that
refrigerators are
you commit to.
Refrigerators use a lot of energy, and so trying to find one that meets your needs and also has really good Energy Star ratings is one of them, but also just energy use ratings. Mm-hmm. And if you find one and you like it, chances are it's either been reviewed on the world of YouTube or it's got some kind of article written about it. And it's a matter of just doing comparative studies. Mm-hmm. And if we're in the position of helping you make those choices, then we're thinking about the appliance and its use and what it looks like, but we're also considering its load, what it requires in terms of energy, and what that means when you add up all of those loads inside of this box that they all get put in, which we call a house. How does all of that stuff work together, and how much resources are necessary to power all of those things? When we're plugged into the grid, we don't care, right? Because it's endless power. But once you move into this world of renewables, all of a sudden, those choices start to have real implications that can impact the efficiency of your energy generation system. And those components and those systems they're moving at a tremendous rate. So there are components that are available that were not available even a year ago.
Yeah, that's true. Battery.
That are making this a lot more easy for people to engage with these products. And when you do, the condition of your home and the choice of all of those things inside the home that use power, they become imperative. That's a really good choice.
So a lot of times when people are looking at overall payback on their energy bill, they're like, well, it's not really enough for me to make that choice, that more expensive choice, so it's not really worth it. But what Patrick's talking about, which is actually a whole nother live broadcast, by the way,
coming next.
What he's talking about is that it does matter, because your solar panels can only charge your battery capacity to this much, and your evening when there's no solar available lasts this long. Do you have enough battery capacity to keep everything going through in the evening, keep you warm at night?
Or in February on any given day.
So yeah, so that's a whole nother discussion. And then we could also, on this appliance one, I mean, I actually could just keep talking and talking, because appliances go beyond just your kitchen.
How are we doing on time? How long are we supposed to be doing this for?
I don't know, an hour?
Are we okay?
Another 10 minutes.
Another 10 minutes.
Another 10 minutes, okay. Okay, so Jean R. has a question.
Yeah, so we should get to everyone's questions.
That is probably relevant to a lot of people. Right? Yeah, so this is probably relevant to a lot of people. How can we get help with home repairs and improvements on a low-level income? Wow, great question.
Great question. I so wish we had an answer.
Well,
do you have an answer?
Well, I can tell you that it's a question we're asking ourselves. We do this yearly retreat because we're a worker-owned cooperative, and this time we had how many at our yearly retreat?
14.
14 people at our yearly retreat. And so we do all this idea generation, like, okay, where do we want the company to go? What kinds of things do we want to develop? How can we get better? What interesting idea do we want to talk about? Do we want to develop? And one of the things that came up was that very question, like, how can we do repairs? How can we help people with just repairs? Because we're a remodeler, we do bigger things, and so it's in our future. Like, there's enough people in our company that really want to be able to service the repair folks. I'm sorry, I started reading a comment.
I read it. Go ahead, keep going.
Okay. So we don't have a department for that right now. We do actually have a couple people that we call on Tyson. But Tyson has a couple people. Yeah, a fellow who used to work for us. We do recommend him occasionally for smaller stuff.
Right. And so the problem with this is the expense of performing this work, and the expense of materials to perform this work, even repairs. And so, there are people in the community, single person contractors that do repair work. The companies seem to change a lot. I see lots of new trucks. I see lots of old trucks. I see trucks disappear. It's really hard to keep track of that part of the contractor world. A lot of those folks that are working in that level may or may not be licensed. They may not have insurance.
Yeah.
And may not be bonded. So I think what this person is talking about is, and what this is not anything we know about, but it would be great if our community could subsidize some house care, especially for elders and people of limited income. And we don't really know of anything that any current program that offers that. Now, the Opportunity Council used to have a rehab department, and that and then they did a bunch of energy improvements and had funding to do that, and then the Building Performance Center in Waukopka came out of that whole process. And one of the things they used to have, and I used to work there a long time ago, was they had a division that did rehab work, that did this kind of repair work and energy use improvement, performance improvement on houses. And you could apply to that program, and they would have federal funding that would help fund these projects for people with limited or low income. I don't know if that exists anymore. I've been there for a long time, but it would be worth us probably finding that out, and it would be worth it for you maybe to call the Opportunity Council and ask them if there's any programs that could help you take care of your house.
So we have a resource page, and you made me think of something, and it's always on my list. We have to update our resource page, by the way, so forgive me if it's last year's and it's not been done yet. But I do remember when I was looking at the resource page for tax rebates and things, there definitely was things that were available to low income that were not available to everyone else. And so, I mean, it's, you know what, I'm going to, where's that question? How can I help with homework? Okay. I'm going to pull that question aside because I think we should answer this on a resource page as best we can. And I'm going to put that on my list of to-dos. I never leave a meeting, hardly ever, without something to do. So thank you, Jean.
So, Tori, who is one of our employees and soon to be members, had a good question. He asked, is energy generation and storage important for aging in place? ? No, maybe. It might be, actually. It probably is more important for people in 50 or 100 years who are trying to age in place, that we're responsible with our use of materials and energy today, because we're in the situation we're in now, because 100 years ago, they didn't care.
Yeah.
Hot
button question, Tori.
It was not an issue.
You pressed the
and
hot
now we're
button.
dealing with it, right? And so that means your kids, Tori, and your grandchildren are going to deal with the decisions that you're making today when you build the house that you're getting ready to build. So you better build it with energy generation so you don't suck up all the power and the people in Florida drown. Right? That's what we're talking about here.
Okay, you're going off the cliff, Matt.
Okay, so that's kind of that's slightly impractical.
Yeah.
I would say it's important for a slightly divergent reason, which is in the process of making some of the decisions about moving to a more renewable energy source, it compels you to ask a lot of other questions about your house and the condition of the house and the condition of the equipment and appliances in that house. And one of the questions that comes up a lot, and we deal with a lot with aging in place questions, is how difficult or easy is it for you to take care of your house when you get older? Because we have a lot of older clients and they can't do things like clean their gutters. They certainly can't clean their gutters when they're 2.5 stories in the air. So these design questions about care and maintenance of the house is important. And I would say that if you're the type of person that's going to be thoughtful enough to put energy generation components in your house with appliances that can use that energy responsibly, you're probably also being considerate of the condition of your home. And as you get older, it becomes more and more difficult to maintain that. And it's very expensive to repair the envelope of a building when there's been deferred maintenance. So the envelope of the building, that's the box, right? That's the box with the hat on it that we live inside of. And so when you're building a house, that is the most expensive component. It's the most expensive thing to take care of because it's the thing that shields us all from the world. And it's the most expensive thing to fix when you don't take care of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Energy generation, it's not necessary, but
yeah,
I think it leads to other decisions that are important.
So there's 2 questions here that are kind of together, and then there's this one, which is a super fun question.
Yeah, and we know.
So we'll close with these 2 questions, and then do we have time? We'll do the super fun one. Okay, yeah. Limit yourself, Patrick. Just saying. You notice who we have to limit here.
Okay, got it.
Maggie knows when to stop.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, what role does physical fitness play in aging in place?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Go, Maggie.
You know, I think that it has everything to do with it and nothing to do with it, because aging fitness, you know, it helps you be able to do more things for a longer period of time, to do the things that you normally do for a longer period of time. But ultimately, you know, I mean, my mom was, you know, walking, and, you know, she was jogging, and then she couldn't jog, so she was walking, and she was very, very healthy. But then her heart just stopped pumping efficiently, and so physical fitness didn't help her at that point. And then she stepped down 1 step at my house. This is like super depressing and scary. Yeah. But I mean, it's
the truth.
Yeah, I mean, she fell, she broke her hip, she recovered sort of, and then she died.
Yeah.
And so same story as Patrick. And so we're up close and personal on this stuff. So physical fitness obviously is good.
It's absolutely imperative.
Absolutely.
To say,
right?
Start now, don't stop.
Except aging, you can't stop. You can't stop yourself from aging. You're still going to age. You still might lose your hearing.
Yep.
You might lose your vision. Your heart
might stop.
It might just slow down. And so now all of a sudden you can't walk. So that was the part that was super surprising for me, is that my mom, who she jogged and then she walked, and then all of a sudden we went to walk downtown Bellingham. She was visiting, and I realized she had to stop every single block. I had to find a place for her to sit down because she couldn't keep going.
Yeah.
And she was just this dainty, frail, wonderful, beautiful little old lady that her heart just wouldn't keep going.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, we do just run out of time. But there is but I think there is something real about this question in terms of maintaining physical fitness in a regular capacity as we age.
Yeah.
Because we do lose muscle mass. We lose the ability to be flexible and mobile, and we can extend those abilities quite a bit further by being active and engaged in physical fitness until we simply can't do that. And that by itself will extend our opportunities. And also, the more fit we are, the more likely we are to be able to adjust to an accident or recover more quickly, or correct a misstep in the middle of the night, catch ourselves. If we're weak, we might fall, and then we might break things. So, but hey, Tori actually had a great point, because he asked that other question. He said, I was thinking of electric life-supporting devices and grid instability from a changing climate. There you go.
Of course, Tori would think of that.
Like a whole battery backup system that can keep your iron lung going.
You see, and we were smart enough to hire Tori.
We hired Tori. Yeah.
Yeah, great comment.
Yeah, and if you work with us, you'll get to work with Tori, and he's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I want to go back to this. Margaret G asked about the role in physical fitness. So the role it plays for me is that you get to pretend when you're physically fit, you're bound to crack your head or fall or dive where you're not supposed to, and be in a bad situation for 6 weeks while you recover from the crazy physical fitness thing. So the role that it plays for me is it helps you practice for being old.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're just sore all the time, which is what it's going to be like when we don't do anything at all.
Well, you may experience that limited mobility for 6 weeks while you recover.
Right.
That's what I meant. Yeah, it's like it's actually a way to practice
from
for
that
being
terrible
old.
workout.
So then these two other these are kind of related. One is one from Stephanie, one from Jean. Who can we contact for help with remodeling, and how can I find an architect, contractor, and elevator manufacturer to come to Blaine, Washington to install an elevator in my home?
Great question.
Okay, so Patrick is the person you should call.
We could help. I mean, we could probably help you with both those things. We have done some elevators, and there is some cool, much more friendly, installer-friendly elevators that are on the market. We haven't had a chance to monkey around with them, but it would be fun to put one in. And it seems like it's a bit more flexible, because putting an elevator in a house it's quite the carpentering event, and requires a lot of design and engineering. We've done it a few times. So we'd be happy to sort of talk to you and see what you have going on. And then the other question in terms of remodeling, that's pretty much all we do. There's some other companies in town that we really like. A1D Builders is a pretty great company with good folks. Bellingham Bay Builders are good friends of ours. Tyson Gebauer is a contractor out in the county. He has a website called Tyson the Builder, and he used to work for us, and he's a great builder and does lots of small projects on his own.
Yeah.
Our company is a design build firm, which means we have a design team and we have a build team. And so that works really well for us because we're involved from beginning to end. And it doesn't mean that you can't also be successful by hiring a design team and then hiring a builder. And you have more that you have to interact with and sort of facilitate, but it can work, especially if that designer and that builder know each other. And so if you went and talked to Dave, our friend Dave at Bellingham Bay Builders, you went and talked to him, he would say, we don't do design work, but we work with these select designers and they know us and we know them and we feel good about working with them. And then you could go and talk to those designers and they would walk you through the design part of it. And then Dave would help you with the construction part of it. That can work really well. We don't like that system, which is why we do it the way we do it, because we think our way is better, because it is better. But we also love Dave and Bellingham Bay Builders, and they do amazing work, and they can do it even though it's way harder. So you know, that's why we have the company we have. So call those guys or call us, and we'll see if we can help you. We don't know of a lot of other people. Frankly, we don't have a lot of other people we recommend.
No.
But Chuck+A and what's the isn't there another company in town? Okay. Yeah.
Bellingham Bay and Chuck+A.
And then
well, we use Masari, but they're not.
No, Masari, no. Okay, well,
Ethos?
Try those guys.
I don't know.
Ethos Northwest?
I don't know. I don't know them very well.
We don't know everybody.
We don't know everybody. Bundle does great design.
Design.
They do great design. They don't build, though.
They don't build.
Yeah, we do design build. Yeah. And so when I say he's the one to call, that's because he's our salesperson, our anti-salesman.
Yeah.
And then he and I actually will end up visiting your place and talking to you, and then I will kind of caretake you until we can match you up with a designer that's available and get your project started.
Yeah, plan on about a year after you call us before we can be there doing the work. Partly because of the waiting list, and partly because there's a lot of work to do before we want to start tearing your house apart. So right now, our designers are pretty full. We might have a space here and there for a new job, but it's a good time. Usually we have a really long waiting list, and our waiting list is short right now, is what I'm trying to say. So it's a great time to sign up, and then we'll be able to start design within, probably 6 weeks. Yeah. And then figure 9 to 12 months before construction can start. The construction. There's a bunch of stuff that has to happen. Booked out a bunch of people we have to help. So we're typically scheduling construction starts about a year from the time we're having this initial conversation. So we have a bunch of stuff on our website at A1DesignBuild.net. A1DesignBuild.coop. And it's co-op. Yeah. There's a resource page there that might have some stuff that's helpful. We'll probably be putting some aging in place stuff there in the future. And then that's a good way, if you want to get in touch with me, you can come by the office. We're on Northwest, by Yeager's. And, or you can call 360-734-5249, and I'll probably answer. Or Maggie will. And we'll see what we can do. Yep. We're both here. We're not going anywhere. See you later. Thanks, everybody, for commenting. Adriana says, thank you, Adriana. Thanks, Adriana. Sweet. Okay, we're going to say goodbye. I don't know. Goodbye.